Okay, today we're looking at last week. I can't predict the future, but I can tell you what happened in the mortgage rate world this past week. Now, today is Monday. I think it's January the 26th of 2026. And if you're like me in North Carolina, you can look out the window and see that there is snow everywhere, snow and ice and freezing rain. And it's just kind of locked our area down, but we can still look at what happened in the rate world, in the mortgage world last week. Now, so jobless claims last week came in 200,000 lower than expected. The 4-week moving average of new applications hit a 2-year low. What does that mean? Well, it just means that there are fewer people applying right now for unemployment, which means that people who have jobs kind of feel safe in their jobs. There's not this huge feeling of getting ready to lose your job. The Fed's main gauge of inflation drifted higher in November, reaching 2.8. The reported rate was in line with expectations. Now, some people have this false notion that when inflation continues to grow, that rates are going to go down. The Fed's automatically going to lower the rates. If you're waiting on interest rates to drop because of inflation, you may get passed by other competition and actually the price of houses continuing to rise as you wait for interest rates to drop. I don't ever recommend someone to wait to buy until interest rates drop. You can always date the rate. You go ahead and get your interest rate set. If you can afford it at that rate, you'll be able to afford it if rates drop. Plus, you'll lock in and you'll protect yourself against rates even going higher. I had a really smart borrower buy a house, go under contract a couple weeks ago, and I was telling him about rates, and we were talking about when to lock. And he came back to me and said, "Josh, from what I'm studying, it looks to me like if rates go up, they can kind of bounce at a significant step each time. But when rates go down, they trickle down really slowly. So that makes me think I should go ahead and lock." And I said, "Very smart, bud. That's a smart move. I'm always tempted just to hold on to rate, wait to lock and see if rates go down. But more times than not, he's right. Rates kind of move up at a faster rate than they go down. So if you're sitting around waiting for rates to drop before you buy, I think that's a bad decision because the price of homes are going to go up, and even if rates come down a little bit, you're going to lose money by just waiting. Okay, so no buy January has hit a 5-year high. This has been going on for a while. Gen Zers, millennials, they're committed to freeze out retailers. They're going to shop less. They're going to spend less money in January. And so you might be wondering, why is it at an all-time, a 5-year high? Well, things just trends grow over time. That's one thing. Another thing is over the last 5 years, people have put into their situation more debt than usual. And so their credit card levels have been rising over the last 5 years. And I suspect that there's just more people going, you know what? It makes sense to not spend any money I don't have to in January. So I think that that's probably the gist of it, the guts of it, is people they got higher credit card debt. They need to cut back anyway. All right. December housing market update, 91%. So pending home sales were down 9.3%. Month over month, 3% over year. So you say, what does that mean? Well, it means that there's just a little bit fewer homes under contract to be purchased right now than there were in November, or, there were in December, a little bit fewer than there were in November. That's one thing. The other thing is it's down a little bit year over year. That's kind of a surprise to me because I felt like 2026 was a little better than 2025 a lot of the times, but December was not as strong. Okay, now let's talk about average days on the market. The ideal average days on the market, where you want days on the market to be. Now, this is how long a house, when you list it for sale in the MLS, how long does it take before it actually sells? The ideal scenario is you want it to be between 30 and 60 days. That means that there's a balance between sellers and buyers, and that's a good number. Well, we're in that range at 39 days on the market. That's a good thing. Now, it takes a little bit longer for houses to go from pending sale to sold, but it takes about 39 days right now for it to go from listed to pending sale to under contract. Okay, the executive order. Everybody's talking. Trump's saying, all right, we're going to cut off some of these big national um, institutional buyers. Well, that's in process. That's coming to be. What does that mean for you as a buyer? Honestly, it's not going to be a huge thing. I'm not trying to take something away from Trump. I'm just telling you that it's not going to be earth shattering. It's not going to, they were buying between 1 and 3% anyway. It's a tiny little portion. How does that affect Catawba County specifically? Now, I do mortgages all across the state, but a lot of my business is right here in Catawba County. And I think that there will be nearly zero impact in Catawba County. If you're in Mecklenburg County, there might be a little bit more impact around the bigger cities, but in the, in this market, Hickory, Catawba County, our area, I don't think that's going to really impact things at all. Okay, home renovations and remodeling is rising. New single family and multifamily projects are falling. So, if you were around here, you've probably looked around. You said people are building everywhere. Well, it's these big companies that are building tract homes everywhere, and that's true. But that actually took a little bit of a slowdown in the last little bit of time. Okay. Construction spending is still rising in October, and that's because there's been a lot of home renovations. So if you're thinking, I don't want to buy one of those tract homes, I want to buy an established home, and everything I look at, it's just a little bit out of date. It's not ready. It's not exactly where I want it. Well, let's talk about a renovation home loan, a loan where you buy the house and you also at the same time you're borrowing money to build and you're borrowing money to buy and you're borrowing money to rehab that home all at the same time so that you can, you buy a house that's in your price range, and you buy a house that you have some more room in your price range to do some renovations. And let's just do one loan, let you buy the house and fix it up. We close before you fix it up, but we give you the money to do the rehab. Now it does require that you use professionals, but that's probably a good idea anyway. So if you're interested in that, let's talk. All right, 90% of all millionaires became so through owning real estate. If you're wondering, that's Andrew Carnegie. If you're wondering, is it a good time to buy? Should I buy? The answer to me, I've said this a million times. When's the best time to buy? Yesterday. When's the second best time to buy? Now. If there's anything I can do to help you, reach out to me anytime. Talktojosh.net. 828-238-2682. I look forward to helping you any way I can. You have a great day.